Hi, humans. Welcome to LX2 Codependency Coaching Podcast. I am Stella. I literally had to turn off all music and all sounds to be able to download the podcast into my brain today. And so it might be short, and that's okay. I was thinking about this idea. I was actually having a conversation with a friend yesterday, and, they were kind of frustrated with what was going on and just feeling a little numb, whatever. And so I said, into every life, a little shit may fall. And thinking about this idea, we often refer to it as a shitstorm. I had made a post when I first got to Greece 4 years ago about a shitstorm and how we have to weather the storm and get through it, and how we get through it is what resilience looks like. And what I know to be true, and I've said it before, people don't come to my office on their best day. They come after thinking for a long time that this is probably something they needed, and finally get up the gumption or the courage to make the phone call or shoot the email or send me a text because somebody in their life gave them my number. And it's usually after the shitstorm, right? It's after everything is covered in awful. And I think about that, right? I think about what our first instinct or reaction is. And for those of us who have anxiety, our first instinct is to stay still and to get, and then it's to react, right? It's to fight it with everything we have. Or it's to get quiet and just observe for a little bit. It really just depends on what our nervous system has been conditioned to anticipate in life. And, I talk about anxiety often because, one, I have it. Two, most people, a lot of humans, are afflicted with that hypervigilance or pervasive thoughts, or just perseverating. That's the word I was looking for. The perseverating thoughts of just ongoing things but what if this happens, and what if this happens, and what if this happens, and I need to have a plan for my plans and all the things. So it puts us into an action state, right? Now, thinking about our nervous systems and thinking about perceived threat, which is generally what a shitstorm is. It really does help us to recognize that, okay, one of the biggest tools that I use on a regular basis and I give to clients, one is check your facts, right? Recognize what is true, what is actually happening, and what is your brain making it worse. So that's one tool I use often. In the middle of a shitstorm, it's really hard to kind of delineate or decipher what is actually happening versus what do I perceive as happening. And sometimes it's true, right? Sometimes there is a metaphorical saber-toothed tiger coming for you. All things are bad. Most of us go into flight, run away, leave, don't do this, or fight and kill the saber-toothed tiger, right? Or kill whatever is perceivingly the threat. But after that, then there is this process of perseverating, and then we become hypervigilant, or we worry about what the next shitstorm is, and it seems like it's always raining poo, and that's the thing. And the reality is, for some people, I do get that it feels like you are in a never-ending cycle of terrible things. I get that. I understand that that's how it feels. And I understand that for some people, that's what happens, right? Your car breaks down and you get a bill that you weren't expecting, and, your rent increases and your partner is cheating or whatever. Your all of those things could happen at the same time. And, it can feel as though you're walking, under a storm cloud of, constant terrible. And what I ask is, how many of those things are things that you cannot control, right? Things are going to happen. We got to Just recognize that that's true. And how many of those things are choices that we have made that led us to this decision, right? Car breaks down because I didn't maintain it on a regular basis, or got in a car accident, like whatever, I was distracted and I was on my phone, or, I, there could be a numerous, enumerated, like so many reasons that these things could happen. And then there's the choice part. And my goal is to not get you to help beat yourself up. I'm a terrible person. Consequently, I deserve these things. But it is to recognize, okay, this is shitstorm season, right? This is the particular typhoon that we are in. And how do I get through this, right? How do I move through this particular season that sucks and get to dry land or a shower or whatever it is I need so that I can get to the next thing, right? That's usually when people come into my office. All of these things happen. It was really terrible. I can't sleep. I'm not doing all the things I need to be doing, right? And that's the opportunity to be like, okay, slow down. I'm so sorry that all of those things have happened. It sounds awful. And what can we control right now, right? That's tool number 2. Can we check our facts? What is in our wheelhouse to be able to fix? Who is in our corner that we can get support from? And what skills do you already have to be able to navigate through this, right? I think often about how, because I work with adults, and I've shared with you guys before, adults have been through so many things before now when their little kid selves could not fathom or navigate all of those things, and yet they got through them. Unscathed, unlikely, but definitely got through them. One of my favorite poems is Invictus by William Henley, and I have it on my wall. A while back, my daughter gifted me a calligraphied copy of it, handwritten. It was beautiful. It is beautiful. But the poem is pretty amazing, and it's right where my couch is, right? So I look at it pretty much every night, and thinking about this idea of, and I stand with my head bloodied and unbowed, right? I recognize that most humans go through many a storm before they get to my office, and then they have the skills that they at times forget to be able to get through whatever their current situation is, right? There is no amount of wishing it away, or, hoping that you are, not going to encounter inclement weather or challenging situations. But if you recognize that you have gotten through most of the things that you have been presented with, you will get through this particular thing. It may bring you to your knees, that's true, but you can get up again. And so, this conversation with this friend, I get it. Like, people feel defeated. People feel like it's just not going to get better and it's always going to suck. And for some that choose to kind of sit and, just give in to it, that's what happens. But for others, they recognize, okay, well, this is probably the lowest I've been. The worst that has happened. We talk about the rock bottom, right? And I meet a lot of folks at the bottom. And I have an aunt who passed away a long time ago, but she said, you can either go up or sideways, honey. And I love that aunt. Every day I think about that. But up or sideways, when you are on the bottom, you can continue to crab walk sideways at the bottom, or you can learn to climb. And learning to climb is checking your facts. Learning to climb is controlling what you can. Learning to climb is recognizing I'm going to sit and be sad and feel like poo, and then I am going to get up and move forward. And so that's a choice. And sometimes we have to get up more than once. But every time we get a little further up from that deep, dark hole and recognize, okay, there's a little bit of light, then we can get through it, right? When the waves keep coming and we're at the bottom of this pit or hole, recognizing, okay, how did I get here, right? I have so many clients who ask me, how did I get here? And sometimes it's helpful to kind of dissect some of the parts of how we got here, right? Could be our family of origin, could be our relationship, definitely going to be our choices. But the how is not as important, or the how is more important than the why. But how you got here is helpful to recognize. How do we, one, avoid this particular pitfall, and two, learn skills to be able to navigate through pitfalls, right? Figure out how to understand what our choices are, what we attract, what we, as we continue to say, and I talk about our self-talk often, because if we are saying, this is just what I deserve, this is just who I am, this is who I'm going to be forever, that's probably true, right? But if we change it to, I can learn skills, I have actually gotten through hard things before, I have survived every other hard thing before now, my head is bloody and unbowed, I will get through this particular season and storm. That's a big part of it, right? Changing the narrative, changing your perspective, recognizing I have hit rock bottom and I have made choices, but that is not who I am. That is what has happened, right? I could be fearful often that this will be forever. That's the other thing as humans hold on to. This is a terrible moment and it's going to last forever. And as I've told you many times, nothing lasts forever. We will continue to have unfortunate, unforeseen, uncomfortable things happen, and there will also be really cool things and awesome things. And what as we look around and go, okay, well, do I want to be part of the problem or do I want to be part of the solution? Right? What are my choices here? Then that's part of what we can control, right? I read a poem by Stacey Martin, who's a poet I follow on Instagram, and she was talking about, and I'll post it in my stories, she was talking about how she sees hope or beauty in the world is to acknowledge when people put carts back in the cart corral, or who will scoop up a bug and, put it outside, or who will, intentionally look up at clouds or the moon or the sky and smile a little bit, right? Recognize now in spring, as allergies are crazy, so much dust, so much pollen. It's nice to be able to live in the desert and then see the hints of green as I'm looking out the window right now at the tree that's in front of my house. But see the hints of green and know that, okay, yes, it was dark, it was desolate, it was cold, it was dry, it was brown, and now it is an opportunity to recognize that it comes back, right? And there will always be hard things. That's just true. I will never lie to you and tell you that life will get great once you go to therapy. That's not true. But what you will learn is that there are skills to be able to get through things, and you already know a lot of the things to get through. You do have to use the tools and the skills. You do have to take the help if people are offering it, or if you've decided to, venture into therapy. And that's up to you, right? These are choices. I had an interesting conversation with my mother yesterday. She does make me giggle, this lady. Her first instinct is always fear, which then comes out as anger and frustration and why are we doing the thing? Why is, as I've told you, how is better? It's a good question. Why is irrelevant. It's not as important as we think it is, but we try to figure it out anyway. And so she got so upset about this situation that's coming up. And I just sat in it and I was like, okay, well, I trust that other person and I know that they are making the right choice for them. And I don't have to understand why. That's not mine to understand. And she just kept going on and on. Don't be naive. Uh, I love Margarita. And I know that she is a person who reacts first and responds later. And there are lots of humans that are like that, that they get big in their feelings and then logic sets in, or they recognize what they can control, or they detach from the outcome, whatever it is, right? All of these skills and tools I've given you. And she'll calm down, right? I have learned to weather that particular gust of wind that comes from her from her, because I know that that's how she responds. And then she gets curious, then she asks questions, then she gets more clarity and understanding, and she gets back to her homeostasis of regular, which is usually depressing and sad and poor me. But that's okay. That's who she is and that's how she functions. And I understand that as I observe human beings, they all have their homeostasis, right? But we can change that particular level to something a little higher or more sustainable than that place of fear or worry or concern or planning or whatever it is that anxiety looks like for you, right? When you start to recognize, oh, I'm the kind of person that has plans for my plans, or I'm the kind of person that plays the what if game in the negative direction, or I'm the kind of person that always is looking for the terrible thing to happen, even on a sunny, beautiful day. And if you recognize that, then you get to, with awareness and choice and practice, change that perspective. Whether or not you come to therapy is up to you. I have had this awesome experience to be able to, sit with a client, and the first couple times it's, either they're masking and they're like, everything's fine and I'm so great and and I'm like, then why are you here? They're like, oh, well, there's this thing and it's hard or difficult or challenging. And then after a few sessions with a little bit of tools, a little bit of perspective, then they go, oh, yeah, it's interesting now that I am looking at things without my rose-colored glasses, or now that I am looking at feelings as just data and I get to choose what happens and what I do with those feelings. It's interesting because now I feel like I can manage or control things a little bit better. Yep. And that's where you stand and decide, right? It's interesting. Everything is interesting. I'm so interested in life and things. The William Henley poem ends with, I am the master. I am the captain of my soul. I'm the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. If I go through the whole thing, I can remember it all. But yeah, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. And we get to decide what we do with the storms that we go through. That is entirely up to us. And we can fight all the time, but that gets exhausting. And we can give up often, but then we don't move or go anywhere. So it might be helpful to learn some skills to battle through it and recognize your resilience and strength and understand that you get to choose what you do in the storm. Whether or not you use your skills and tools, the good ones and the not so great ones, is up to you. But controlling what you can, checking your facts, two valuable tools to be able to make those decisions. And then every day, choose. But if you are kind to yourself and want to be that change, right? Want to just take an opportunity to look up and see the green on the trees or the ladybugs that are around, or, for me, it's puppy kisses at the end of the day. That's up to you. But things are going to continue to happen. Life keeps happening and storms continue to rise. what you do with it is up to you. So short nugget today, because like I said, I had to get real quiet to let it flow. Things are changing and happening in my world, so I'm not taking new clients right now. But there are lots of great therapists out there, and there are lots of nice ladies out there who will, do whatever they do. But it's up to you, right? If you feel like you are either in or just have survived a storm, maybe it's helpful to process that with another person who can give you tools and skills. Maybe it's time to detach from this is just who I am and this is how I will always be to I want to be different and better, and I want to do something in a way that is more helpful to me and to the people around me. I don't want to keep feeling like this, right? That's up to you. So make your choices and work on your skills. And I will talk to you soon. We'll figure it out for next week. But yeah, things are changing, not taking new clients. I will be taking off a couple weeks in April, if not sooner. And so that will affect, I should still be able to record. We'll see. I will be doing some traveling, and we'll keep you abreast of those plans. But I hope that you have a good rest of your week and get some rest, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.